Hello everyone, welcome back to the lab and welcome to episode 2 of World 2 2024 series where I will be documenting my journey of me how I grind competitive Yu-Gi-Oh TCG and eventually hopefully make to the World Championship of 2024. And that being said, let's start today's episode. So last week we ended with this, the Tri-Brigade Fire King deck. Like I mentioned at the very end, I dropped it after a weekend, several weekends of different tournaments, specifically mainly regionals. However, despite I'm dropping the deck, there are definitely things I like about something in the deck. Diabell, the whole Wanted Diabell package is so absurdly powerful. It really serves like a Swiss knife. You pull out the right tool at the right situation and it's just always good. The whole package can be a starter, an extender, or even a good pivot against interruptions like Droll because the existence of Severia that I talked about in the last episode. So obviously, despite I'm dropping Tri-Brigade, Fire King as a whole deck, I'm gonna keep playing whatever that has Wanted Diabell in the deck. So I think it was during those weeks I saw a list online that gave me an idea. It was pretty much a kind of Fire King, like regular Fire King Snake Eye Diabell deck, the Fire Mix. Except it has an inclusion of some Rescue Ace cards. As we all know, Rescue Ace took a huge consistency hit from the ban list with Airlifter going to 1. So I didn't even look into Rescue Ace post ban list because it just seems inconsistent to me. Like before the ban list, it's already having some consistency problem. Now missing 2 of its best starter, I just didn't even bother look into it for the whole Rescue Ace deck anymore. However, the smaller Rescue Ace engines, specifically talking about Impulse and Fire Attacker, was quote unquote a known hand trap package that has been used since its release. Simple fact, anything activate opponent's word, Impulse triggers, get the Fire Attacker. I think during the time it was released, it was specifically against cash tier monsters like Fernier and Unicorn. And then Fire Attacker will draw 2, discard 1. During that time, you can do this thing in tier where you just draw 2, pitch either a tier monster or a Shizu Miller, and things go off. It's your turn now, right? And later, now, like in the current format, this idea is still being kind of quote unquote used, since you can pitch a lot of things in a fire deck. Like Grunix is okay to pitch because pitch for effect. The Fire King cards need to be destroyed, but you do go through your cards. There are other things like Diabell. Remember the Diabell hidden effect that I was utilizing in the last episode, the Graveyard effect, where it was sent to Graveyard from hand or field during opponent's turn. Yes, Fire Attacker works very well in this situation. So, like I said, I want to including Diabell, so I want to increase the chance I see Diabell. And Impulse is like a very okay way to make that happen. Like, during opponent's turn, if they activate something, I Impulse, get Fire Attacker. Fire Attacker, draw 2, pitch a Diabell. Diabell will immediately trigger in turn 0. Send either whatever, random thing in my hand, or just a Fire Attacker if I think my hand's good enough. Summon Diabellstar, set either whatever's Sinful Spell I'm missing that will be good for next turn. So at turn 0, I did a small setup that just completely getting ready for myself to break into boards or play into boards the turn after. Right, so this is some idea that has been kind of quote unquote known. But what's unique about the list I saw was the inclusion of a Hydrant and a Preventer without Turbulence in the deck. So Hydrant obviously is a level 1 fire. It is something you can summon of either original or accessed by Snake Eye cards. And Hydrogen itself, accessing to Preventer, give you like 3 link bodies by itself. It's like a very cool package that just significantly increasing the amount of link bodies you have while you're comboing. So this kind of less like attracted me. And obviously there isn't a turbulence without any turbulence target. So the quote unquote bricks in Rescue Ace, yeah, they're not existing in the deck. So we kind of just only using the good part of Rescue Ace and ditch the bad part of Rescue Ace. And threw those into a Fire King Snake Eye deck. With obviously Diabellstar. Right? So that's pretty much how this list was made. And then I feel it was like I feel the rest was like 12 non-engines, and pretty much the deck is done. This looks like a very worth trying list that might be give me a different taste than the Tri-Brigade list I played. So after a few testing, after a few games, there's definitely pros and cons, I realized. Jumping to conclusion, the Tri-Brigade list is very good against Fire King variants because Shurags, non-targeting removal, and then access to like a search DD Crow. This is a very key package against any Fire King variants, or specifically against Curing and the Grunix. However, this version with Fire King Snake Eye Rescue Ace, this is like more a better variant against Labyrinths, because in this list, Fire King is no longer a sub-engine, it's a main engine. Even with the inclusion of Arada. As a main engine, Lab naturally have a worse matchup against Fire King cards specifically. So whenever I'm playing a deck with the main engine being Fire King, I have a better matchup against Labyrinths. And I think this was also during a time on the weekend, or right before the weekend, Rollback is about to release. So Rollback is a scary card, and Lab itself, even without Rollback, is already a scary deck. So I was fairly like confident, yeah, this probably be a better meta call, because how many Lab gonna pop out with the hype of Rollback on the release weekend for an incoming regional as well. So at the beginning, I was very like confident this probably will be performed better than the Tri-Brigade Fire King variant of Fire King deck. However, there's definitely the downside, the really bad side. I didn't like the deck. This deck suffers a severe good cards and bad cards kind of syndrome, where, oh yeah, if I go off, if I open my opening was just like Diabell, Ponix, maybe Ash, or maybe not, like Fire King starters. Oh yeah, this deck is it can put out some very absurd board, because how crazy amount of link bodies Hydron and Flemberg, the Snake Eyes cards, can really provide, and it feel like nearly unbeatable when everything's going on. But when it doesn't, my hands could be consistent with like the Fire King bricks, like a Baron, the Snake Eye quote unquote bricks, a Flamberg, the Rescue Ace bricks, the Preventer and Fire Tagger, with a more other Fire King like Skyburn, Soveria, and some non-engine hand trap. To the point where I almost guarantee open at least one of the back cards, which doesn't feel good. And if there are that many bad cards in the deck, why don't I just play Rescue Ace? Like, what's the difference drawing Skyburn and drawing Extinguish, right? There's nearly no difference because they were both dead. And if considering how many starters it really has, like Diabell's, Wanted, and then others, it's like, yeah, I mean, I probably have the similar number of starters compared to a regular Rescue Ace deck. And also, like the Impulse Fire Attacker, Hydron, Preventer, yeah, those definitely existing in the Rescue Ace deck because they are just Rescue Ace cards. But the rest of like the Fire King cards, they still have like a small draw problem where Race, not so much. I definitely remember myself opening hands where like I do open a lot of engine pieces and they're the good ones. But I got trolled, and then suddenly this Fire King engine just folds. And if I'm playing hypothetically the corresponding Rescue Ace cards in a pure Rescue Ace deck, I'll probably be fine because a single emergency can just give me Turbulence and Turbulence F4 after Drolled, everything will still be fine, right? So like it was a worth attempt, and then I dropped this deck again. it was okay, but wasn't consistent. And I do still like a lot of things in this deck, like Impulse into Fire Attacker, pitch Diabell, like I said at the very beginning. That's such a cool combo in turn 0. It brings me back memories during tier format where a halfness has been activated. That kind of level of turn 0 setup ability. So I decided to keep that and played and go for the simpler way of doing things. Like, okay, if out of a Fire King, Sinful Spoil, Rescue Ace deck, I only like the Sinful Spoil and the Rescue Ace part, but not the Fire King part, why don't we just go back to the simple route and play Sinful Spoil, Rescue Ace? Like, race is, yes, Airlifter did go to 1, but back then when we were playing 3 Airlifter, we were not maxing out as many starters as we could. Diabell was not like maxed out. I think I didn't even play Rhoda because I feared Droll. 1-for-1 was just not even, like, it's a bit too costly or sometimes. And then there were also not as many race monster existed in the deck before because we needed to play way more non-engine, way more hand traps. So I think I like barely played any copy of Impulse, or at most one. And the Fire Attacker was guaranteed was not in any of my lesson like before the balance. With that kind of logic, now we can just do all of them there. Like the non-engine portions isn't as needed in the format because I feel like a lot of them aren't really strong. We're in a format where every deck is significantly weaker to the point you can naturally expecting yourself play into a lot of people's ending board without the need of hand trap. There's like not many things that you say, oh, you need some specific hand trap to have some chance. We're no longer in that kind of format. So like play only 9 non-engines compared to before I was playing up to like 15. They're definitely opened up a lot of spots for me to play just engine cards. And with more copies of Race Monster existing in the deck, Emergency become less and less bricky, because I'll always have something to tribute for it. Back then, there was definitely a severe problem where I only played like 10 or 11 Race Monster, maybe less, probably like 9 or 10, I'll say. And I sometimes brick with Emergency without any monsters, and that just feels horrible. And now with this 12 race monster, well technically more because the existence of like 1-for-1 Rhoda and more copy of Diabell, Emergency nearly never breaks anymore. So this is what I built. It's like after we like maybe some people started with rescues for this format and they were just correct, but I took a long way and get here. I'm here at the end. So I was like, you know what? I'm not satisfied with other decks. I'm not satisfied with the Fire King race deck I build. I'm relatively satisfied with Tri-Brigade Fire King, but I played enough tournaments with it. I want to experience some other different things. So there's the incoming regional, the Catskill regional in Upper New York. I decided to just go with Sinful Spill Rescue. It's the regular boring deck. How did I perform? Well, technically, there were 2 regionals that weekend. Catskill was the one on Saturday, and on Sunday there was a side deck remote regional. So I pretty much played same list for both of them. I think the only difference was like during Saturday at Catskill, I didn't have my 3rd copy of Diabell, so I ended up playing 3 Impulse, 2 Diabell, and then bought a Diabell during the day, during the tournament. And So on Sunday, instead of three impulse, two Diabell, I swapped the ratio. I played three Diabell and two impulse. Like hindsight, probably I wanted to play 3 and 3, but I don't know what else I could cut. Cutting like another non-engine like a Veiler feels a bit risky, I'll say. And I wasn't entirely sure. So I was like, yeah, 2 impulse probably do the job enough. Which is only going with 2. Despite once I know what to cut, it will probably go 3. So during out both of the regionals, I performed decently well. On Saturday, it was how many? I think it was like slightly over 300. 306, 308, something around there. So we played 9 rounds of Swiss, cut to top 48 get invite, which is a huge chunk of potential war points for me. Unfortunately, I lost round 1. Round 1 I played against someone with a horse, Sing for Spoils, Snake Eye, Volcanic deck. And game 1, going second, I did open any hand traps. I had to watch him finish the whole, like going through all his engines, going from Sing for Spoil into Snake Eyes into Volcanic, and eventually activate King Sark at the end. So, that was a lot for me to go through game 1. I had to perform an OTK turn 2 while clearing board and then kill through pot half damage with Axis. I could. I miscalculated because the tournament kind of didn't start on time. I was halfway falling asleep almost. So I miscalculated and missed like few hundreds of damage. Resulting me could win the game 1. Didn't. And then, we still have a chance, right? Game 2 I start. Game 2 I finally get to go first. I won game 2. Relatively easier. But game 3, well, as you see, game 1 took a while and still didn't win. So we burned a lot of time. When you play against Volcanic in time, game 3, that doesn't go well. So I eventually lost that game. Well, lost the game 3 due to time because I kind of messed up in game 1. So hypothetically, if I got the game 1, not misplaying, I'd probably just win the match and then game 2 I might be able to break board or not. In game 3 I can just play going first. So I mean it was it's a loss that I shouldn't be taking, but I was relatively okay. The tournament didn't we got there because one of my friends had to judge. We got there around 8 o'clock in the morning after driving almost 3.5 to 4 hours. But the tournament didn't start until post noon. It was almost 12:30. So a lot of our my own energy, my friends' energy, we just kind of got burned out during the waiting. And so after that I quickly realized that, you know what? I went to grab a whole bottle of water and just chuck it. Kind of have to wake myself up a little bit. So the next several rounds, it was going quite well. I was X1. Well, I lost the first one. I was X1 all the way until, let's say, round 8. Yeah, round 8. Round 8 was my second loss, was my actual loss. I played a T-Element guy, and all those T-Element guys nowadays, they just hit everything, and that's how T-Element do well now. It was almost kind of absurd how well he's hitting his mills, and I couldn't do anything to that. Game 1, he starts horse, I imperm the zombie vampire, he just goes sharing hit 2+2, I think sharing hit +2, something discard, pitch the Trigger Karma gives scream hit another +2. The game goes downhill from there. Game 2 I won because going first, but game 3 similar thing happened. I drove him, he still ended on beating me down with I think a Fernier plus something, and then couldn't really do anything about that. I died. So that was the actual loss. I wasn't mad about it. It's gonna happen. Throughout a whole day of regional of 9 rounds, there's gonna be at least a match where just unwinnable happens. So I wasn't mad. I was just like, let me finish or try to finish this X2 as much as I can, so I secure as many war points as I can. So final round, I played the Mira, which that was relatively easier. I was definitely good in the Mira, and because let me go back. Let me see. Because as you see, I do have Super Party in the main deck. That was honestly Super Party was performing very good throughout the entire tournament. Like the final round, played the Rescuers Mira. I broke my opponent's board going second because I had a Super Party. And I think there's also one round I played against a Sprite. He Super Poly me turn 2 on the first turn after I go first. And I simply just Super Poly backed. His Mud Dragon is something else later in that turn, which turned out I'm completely unaffected by his Super Poly. And there was another game where what was it? I think it was might be the same Sprite guy. Yes, the same Sprite guy in a different game where he shifted me. So I was like, well, I couldn't do anything. Set one Super Party pass. He go normal Beaver Summon Angler. Well, that's 2 monster I can Super Party fuse it, and he just out of 2s, and I survived the turn under shifter, and I just won from there. So yeah, so overall Super Party that weekend was performing very outrageously good. Both in mirrors and outside mirrors, it helped me break into a lot of different board, going second without drawing any hand traps. Or there are games where my hand trap would just not do enough. Like the Ash specifically only good against Lab in my opinion, and maybe occasionally branded. Besides that, on the other matchup, it wasn't good enough. Valor is like sometimes it's nice, but most of the time it's like it's okay. And overall, I was very happy about my performance on Saturday. Like the first loss could be avoided, but overall performance, I still end on X2, finished 12th place after 9 rounds. Got myself around like 37 goal points, a good chunk of it. And then Sunday, I was like, oh, I finally got my 3rd copy of Diabell. Let me try it with 3 Diabell, and then I entered the remote duel side deck regional. I don't quite remember what exactly happened. I ended with X11, secured the top 8. I think game 1 was no. What happened? My loss was a Rescuer's Mirror. I had a Super Poly, but after I play into things, trade away all the back row, my last play got ashed from my opponent, so it wasn't winnable. And then game 2, potentially my opponent just have everything. Like it was the game where I started with emergency but no race monster. So I had to use other cards and got their impulse into fire engine. I kind of had to perform like a clear board turns 1 plan. But then when I get to Saling, I realize I potted away my my Appaloosa. So it was a bit too late. Like if I didn't use the Saling, I could just access. Then after access, use Saling to make make something. But because I potted away the Appaloosa, I could clear the board, but I couldn't like control the board afterwards for turn 2. That resulted, I think, the first loss in the mirror. Which was fine. I mean, it was okay. I mean, it definitely made me relearn something about race mirrors. And the other draw, I kind of don't remember. It might be the final round. I think it was final round when I was X1 going to final round and forgot what happened. It's probably like a relatively combo matchup instead of beatdown. So I was trying to break boards, took a lot of time, and we ended up just draw. Yeah, something like that. So overall, how did that weekend go? I achieved relatively like almost 50 wool points just through one weekend. It was 37 plus 15, something like that. It was almost 50, it was about around 50 points throughout the whole weekend with Rescuers. I had to say, the hit of Airlifter to 1 definitely didn't kill the deck. It was performing way better than I expected with the help of more race cards, specifically impulse and then the impulse targets. And with the inclusion of max amount of Diabell and Severia, I was doing something like I remember one game I I brutally destroyed my opponent. Going first, I think I started with like emergency other thing. My opponent didn't have any hand trap. I ended on Hiso with back rows and something. Then my Hiso ripped a wanted. So I look at myself, was like, oh, wanted. Grab Diabell. Diabell sending I think either one of the trap, extinguish most likely from my back row, summon Diabell. Diabell sets Silveria. And then because I started the combo with emergency, I banished the emergency to reset the extinguish back, resulting me having Diabell summoned for almost for free. But with additional Silveria. So my ending was something like Hiso, draw a bunch of cards with Diabell, Silveria as like a Omni Negate, and all the Turb sets regularly from my combo with leftover Rescue Ace monster in my handle board like that. And that was unbeatable from my opponent. And that really like showed that like this whole list reflected what I was working on during the past couple weeks. The inclusion of Silveria with the Diabells, the maximum amount of Diabells with Impulse Fire Attacker, and then how I understand the format where Super Poly is relatively good, arguably one of the best known engine in the current format. So overall, yeah, I was very happy about my performance throughout the whole weekend, and then that's pretty much it. So this is all the decks I'm gonna include in this episode. Spoiler alert: in the weekend after, I went to the Philadelphia regional and won with it, with a Rescue Ace deck, but different than the one you just saw. And I understand a lot of people are really demanding my list from the Philly regional, so I'm just gonna show it here. It is a horse version of Rescue Ace, which is completely different than what you could imagine. Obviously, I'm not gonna do any more explanations to it right now, because those will be the content saved for the next episode. However, if you have anything, any comments regarding this whole episode, or even just questions regarding this list I'm gonna cover next week, let me know down in the comment section. So I will see it. I'll try to answer as much as I can in the next one. And then that being said, you already know what's coming next. The next episode probably gonna be up in like a few days, no more than a week. And remember, let me know what you want me to say, or you want me to answer. So that being said, I hope you like series like these, and I hope you can like the video, subscribe to the channel, let me know any of your comments, whatever, and I'll see you in the next one.